Welcome to Hot Topics After Dark with your host, Q Wiggins, architect and survival enthusiast, and Jeffrey DeShawn, strategic advisor, coach, and author. Let's get talking.
Hey, baby, how you doing?
I'm doing good. I'm blessed because I get to see your face.
I'm blessed because I get to see yours, baby.
Oh my goodness. So for those of you that don't know, myself and Q, we have been in this community engagement, political advocacy, diversity, inclusion, LGBT, equality game for a minute. And from just real life community spaces, right? Each of us have different stories of what brought us to politics and community engagement work. Neither of one, prior to doing it, did it professionally. But through our experiences, we often find ourselves in very interesting conversations. And so we have decided, given, that there's a lot of signs of the times seem to be percolating on a daily basis, that we want to have some hot topic conversations, some real family conversation about some things that we think folks in community need to be, have a heightened awareness of during these key moments. And so we have launched Hot Topics After Dark. We are going to be coming to you a couple of different times a week. Check us out on Facebook, discussing some of the hot topics of the day and sharing some perspectives from our lived experiences. We navigate politics and social and cultural life. We got some things to share with you, particularly for, those folks in the family. They're right, Lady Q.
Absolutely.
Family, what tell us how we need to, why we need to have some of this family conversation.
The family is a little extended now, so it's the extended family that we need to talk to right now.
I got to sip on that one because Hot Topics After Dark. I had to get myself a little something.
Sometimes you need a little something, but it's getting serious out here. And so the hot topic today is a little different.
Yeah.
Okay. Because I wanna kind of go around it and see what we think about it. The topic I want to talk about is: are we currently in civil war? Have there been actions toward waging a civil war? So that's what I want to talk about. Because see, the thing is, Jeffrey, is the civil war that we had before, that can't happen again. The parameters are different, right? So back then, all the Black people down south were slaves. They didn't have any guns. They didn't have any money. They didn't have any property. They were pretty much controlled by voices. I mean, by their, they had a mental trap on them. They were being abused. So it's certain things you're not going to do when you constantly abuse. And that's one is not attack your oppressor. So they were mentally stepped on. So they didn't have to worry about the slaves revolting against them while they were at war. But now we have a South that has a large population of Black people. So you can't just ignore that group of people who will not allow for certain things to occur. So they can't do a civil war the way they launched one before with the states, because the states are very, very intermingled. So today I want to talk about kind of what that looks like, because it's a little bit different. It would have to be approached in a very different way. And I just want to make sure that we know, as a community, as an extended Black community, what that looks like. So I don't know. Am I the only one seeing this, Jeffrey?
Woo, girl, you just Q, you just want to jump all into the meat.
I gotta jump right into it. It's heavy on the heart.
You're not alone. I question whether anytime you start mentioning civil war, folks get because oh Lord, we got to talk about slavery again. Oh, we got to go, But here's the thing, people, and why Hot Topics After Dark, because there's some things that we need to be keenly aware of, that we normally, we might not pay as much attention because, oh, this is just what, always happens in crisis or emergency. But this is a different time. And I like your Civil War framework because anytime I see our federal government apparatus, right, making intentional decisions not to do things, or making intentional decisions to do things in a way that puts their federal government control, right, powers at central priority, I start to feel a little, again, we caught in the middle of some stuff. Because when I see a federal government that's saying we're not gonna do, you can't do, right, at a time when states are saying, ho, 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 where's the coordination, where's the need, or there's rumor of intervention of, PPE and assets that should have been gone to states being interdicted, right, taken back by the federal government. It just flagged a lot of things for me. And when I heard, when Governor Cuomo said it weeks ago outright, in the conversation about the posturing of the federal government attempting to sort of shut down the triad area and saying that would be a declaration of war. I think we have to be, we love pop culture and we have the hot topics, but particularly and this is where we want to come in and have some family conversation that we need to, friends, you can stay on the periphery, but as 100% unapologetic Black person in America, I am a descendant of the American Negro. I start to, my back hairs start to raise up, because anytime we get in a situation where you mentioned these states in the South, where we have states that are in a position to take back power from the federal government, and then some of these states that we know, right, have a history of discriminatory, the way in which they use power, discriminatory, inequitable, I start to get a little nervous. And then when you start to look at Georgia this week,
Georgia,
the governor of Georgia, just a couple weeks ago, we was in a pandemic. Oh my God, people just dying, dropping, no symptoms, can't breathe. And now all of a sudden it's, some of y'all going back to work. So, people need to recognize. I think, Civil War is might be the right
and in
word.
Kushner's move, you talk. We were talking about that before. Kushner's move was pivotal, and that kind of just slid by. But remember what you were. I can't remember exactly what you were saying, but when he reminded us that those were his.
Well, the federal stockpile at the press conference. Yes, so the federal stockpiles for emergencies are ours. His language is, they are ours. Now, I said to people, oh, what do you mean by that? No, he mean what he said. He said
he
ours.
What he said.
Now, the next question to follow up is simple. Can you define ours in the context that you're using it? Well, I understand it to mean the Trump family, those who are a part of the Trump family apparatus. Maybe that includes conservatism, maybe that includes republicanism. I don't know.
He was clearly saying that the states couldn't have, he was saying that in reference to the states can't have what was ours. Now, last time I checked I had a FICA line on my payroll, on my paycheck. So it was this FICA line that said ours was ours, the American people, because that FICA line is always strong. It like I've been getting that ever since I've gotten a check. My first check at 14, it's always had that FICA line that said ours, but he wasn't talking about that ours because he said it in the context that was opposite of materials belonging to the state, but they were the federal government or whatever apparatus that was, whether it was Republican or the federal government, but it was theirs to disseminate as they felt necessary. Now, we don't even have a checks and balance system to know how that's being disseminated or what's being held for whatever purposes. This is, for the first time in probably American history since the Civil War, we have states negotiating for life and death materials, like something that we really need to live or die. The states have not had to negotiate with other countries.
This is where I go to my, Lawrence Fishburne school days moment. I wish I had my bail. Because the interesting thing about that is, and why for me it is so important, particularly as Black folk and poor folk in America, that in this moment in particular that, we got heightened awareness, that our ears and our eyes are heightened. Because here's the thing, this isn't a new pattern of behavior. We go back to, any natural disaster that we have had over the last 20 years, plus years. We look at Katrina. We look at certain states where have been hit by tornadoes, right? We look at the some of the government response to Hurricane Sandy, and the differences in response. So for me, it is when there is a history of behavior that shows in certain moments, there are certain communities, poor, Black, brown, right, that are left out, shut out, right, usually left to the last.
Mm-hmm.
And then here we are in a moment where we don't have our federal government shoring those up, right, in a position where they can stand from a place of leadership and authority and say, no, make sure, right, that these funds are used for the communities that need them most, right? We have a federal government, by my count, that's doing the actual opposite. That's saying, let's check on the 1% first, deal with the 1% first. And so as a Black person and as a person that comes from a poor and working class sort of upbringing, it just flags for me that we are in a moment of great transition, and that these are not individual failures of just an individual Donald Trump. These are systematic failures that have been building and happening. And now we are in a space and situation where you have a convergence of issues, a health pandemic, economic crisis at the federal, state, and local level across the board. Who's likely to get, again, caught in the middle of this civil war? As usual. So I'm a little, I'm telling my people.
Watch. And my issue, and we also talked about this a little bit. The standard media outlets are not really covering the whole of it, the dirty parts of it. So some voices missing about this discussion. They had a little something at one point. It was so little, but it pretty much just blamed Black people for dying of corona. It didn't talk about they talked a little bit about us being overexposed, but they didn't talk much about it. It was mostly, it's your fault for eating bad. So we aren't really getting the coverage that we need to be talking about around everything that's happened, like what that means when the federal government says that. And the scary part is, what's that saying? Who gonna check me, boo? Trump. It's like Trump been saying that since he got in office. Who gonna check me? He has been saying it.
He's been saying it every day. He gets up and gets up. Who gonna check me? So far,
Nobody is checking him. Like, he's doing the most blatant illegal stuff I have ever seen. I mean, if this isn't treason, but like when he did he took money from like a Pentagon project, and he did a parade. Like, you can't redistribute money that's been congressionally allocated to something that's illegal. Like, they would have carried any contracting officer, and then he's not even a contracting officer, but they would have carried him out of his job.
And that's the point.
We didn't
New normal. People pay attention. We keep thinking and being told, and I think this is so important given that the Democratic Party now has former Vice President Joe Biden, former Senator Joe Biden as their expected nominee, now that all the candidates have officially gotten out of the race. And so there's a tendency, I think, particularly Black folk, communities of color, and the voting electorate at large in this country, to be like, okay, we good. Biden is now the nominee. He gonna take on the battle. No, boo-boo. No. We got to stay aware of what is happening, because in this moment in time, what's happening at the state level and the trade-offs that governors are making, and you see who's the governors that are, making that trade-off from a health, the value of lives and life perspective, and those who are leading with a slanted perspective on what's best for economics. And so when you see that differential, to me, again, going back to your Civil War analogy, you start to see the awareness of a landscape that is very similar. That is very, very similar. And then you look at, in Georgia, recognizing that these are wage industries that are most hit, right? When you look at some of the industries that have been targeted for early reopen, as has been called. But at the same time, when you look at the overlay, as you talk about, of who actually, makes up a majority of the wage low end side of those industries, you're talking about Black people, poor people, and people of color. So again, the stuck in the middle is flagging to me that we are actually in the middle of something much bigger and greater, and that folks need to be aware.
Did you catch the conversation in between, I think it was Mitch McConnell and Cuomo? If that wasn't a Civil War conversation, I don't know what was. Mitch McConnell said, hey, if these states that are in financial trouble, they should not be looking to the government. They can go bankrupt. And Cuomo said, well, I dare you to make New York go bankrupt. Do you understand the repercussions of not just possibly New York, but I mean, as a power play, not even necessarily this is what it has to be, but as a power play, you want to piss off the citizens of New York who run NASDAQ, NYSE. Like, I don't know how you're going to piss them off.
It's interesting though.
That's going to be okay. Like, because it won't just be New York. It will be New York, LA, San Francisco, Chicago, all those states.
What I'm saying,
running the bankruptcy play.
This is what I'm saying to Black people, poor people, small local business owners, independent contractors, everybody that got something to lose and a stake in this game. Mitch McConnell flippantly throws bankruptcy out there as an option for states, knowing the repercussions of bankruptcy for a locality, bond rating, ability to borrow, all just the basic realities, not even from being a person that has a stiff economic knowledge background, right? So if we are in that place where Mitch McConnell is willing to do that, that's what I'm saying to everybody else needs to be at a heightened level of awareness around the decisions that are being made, the announcements and pronouncements that are being made, and from what intention and perspective are those individuals. Because clearly, Mitch McConnell is saying that from a solely 100% political power perspective. Because from a knowledgeable, not an even exceptionally genius person, just a normally smart person perspective, that is not something that a national leader in our legislature, let alone Mitch McConnell, should just be flippantly saying.
To New York City, to our largest city that owns our stock, that is the home of the stock market of the United States of America. Yeah.
So it says to me that, there's a lot of gaming being played with the moment and the crisis, as usual, per our usual as Black people and poor people. And therefore, we need to keep our eye on all the moving balls, because they ain't decided what the actual ball is, nor, I believe, what the desired outcome should be. See, common sense would say the desired outcome is life.
I'm not sure they don't know. I'm not sure with the moves that they're making today. I mean, not just today, but up to today. that they don't have an agenda in mind. I mean, Trump literally said, you know, we're gonna use disinfectant to you know, heal people. Now, mind you, the numbers came out for unemployment. So the unemployment numbers were high. So it's better to have people focus on the disinfectant spray than the 22 million people.
You know, I don't watch Mr. Trump. So please tell me, Q, that he did not say that. Like
he said now and you should have seen the video of Burt's, how she looked when he said it. It was like she just said, "Oh my God!"
That was really her face. That wasn't something from later that people to put.
No,
I saw the video. I saw that
her
video.
Her face was like, "Oh my God, this man's a fucking idiot."
No, she was gathering herself. Her face was. I saw the oxygen. I literally saw the oxygen start to amass at her lower core and start to just like. She had to pull it up and up just to get herself together to sit there. I was hoping that was, you know, edited, doctored situation and that, you know, he actually had not said that. But, you know, seeing as it appears that is the case. People, here's the thing. Here we go. That sums it all up, people. Okay? So the man that told you flippantly or real, would it be helpful if we could just, you know, put some Lysol in people, get some disinfectant cleaning products in people? If any other context, if there was any other person in a position of authority or leadership that was saying something, you know, we would know what to do. But apparently we don't know what to do for whatever reason because they haven't told us what to do. So I'm gonna act like they. So Q and I are now taking on the powers of they in this country, right? Since they ain't told us, you know, we're going to take on the powers of they and self-ordained by America's a living black mayor, the living black mayor of Black America, Mayor Bottoms.
Yes.
Use some common sense, assess the situation. If you don't have enough information to make a decision that you would bet your salary and last breath on, how about you stay still right where you is? And I know I say that from a place of privilege because place of privilege allows me to stay quarantined and not have to go external to work. However, brothers and sisters, that is not the life situation. The air that you breathe. And everybody sitting around you, from your child to your spouse, your partner, your husband, your grandmama, your daddy, your brother, your sister, need you and the air that breathes through you more than they need whatever value the dollar is on the day, on any given day. So let us not be bamboozled by the rush to reopen and the usual using us as the poor and black folk and brown folk as the economic driver and the litmus test for what is actually needed and possible for sustainment. Let us use some common sense and trust ourselves and make decisions that are in our best interest and then set a new standard. Because the flip side of what's happening with the federal is you can pivot now to your governor and say, baby, let's talk. Because I'm going to vote for or against you. And I'm going to taxes for or against you in your state. So Mr. and Mrs. Governor, let's talk.
Yeah, it's a lot going on. And I'm noticing that even on the Facebook feed, they aren't showing a lot of COVID articles. They start putting in fluff again. So the people are being filtered again. You know, it kind of lightened up and you saw what people were really posting. But now I'm looking at it and they'll show you something from 3 days ago instead of showing you, you know, the COVID information. They don't even show the COVID videos anymore because, you know, people would go live when they ended up in the hospital. You're not seeing those anymore. And they think we just silly that people started talking about, you know, Atlanta housewives again. So, you know, it's a bunch of fluff.
What is that? Why is that, Q?
You know what? Because they're
happened?
saying
The world was ending.
They let
just
you
a month
put it
ago.
up. They let you put it up sometimes, because I've had a situation where they, you know, when I've had a situation before where they say where they saw a word and they won't even let you post it, but they'll let you post it. They just won't put it on other people's timeline.
But why is that all of a sudden? Just a month ago, the world, the sky was falling, like people were dropping dead
for the convention. I mean, we're not confused about that. Zuckerberg is, you know, he's helping the Republicans. He's not lying to us about that. But they will give us the news let us see the post that they want us to see.
But what happened to change the narrative? What happened all of a sudden? We was in this pandemic, folks dropping dead. What happened?
Because they want us to have a false sense of security so we can get okie doked again. And when you look at the articles, it's about stuff, it's about some form of consumption, right? It's something that they're selling, like they want you to be interested in you know, what somebody did to somebody else on you know, one of these reality shows, which are great. I'm not saying that they're not great, but that's not what people posting. You telling me nobody posting about COVID every, you know, now I got to go 10 articles down to see another COVID related article?
Well, I'm gonna tell you what I think, right? I'm gonna tell you what I think before you
tell me what you think, boo.
Before you give us our survival tip of the day, I'm gonna tell you what I think.
Okay.
I think a month ago we wasn't certain whether this was going to disproportionately just continue to kill off a whole bunch of older white Americans.
Mm-hmm.
And data was finally brought forward because for the advocates like yourself, scream for where is the data on Black communities and communities of color? And when the data came out, the narrative came out that, oh, Black people are being disproportionately infected and impacted by the epidemic. And once that data shook out with the alignment of the narrative that already certain
they had a whole new narrative,
more comfortable. Okay, we can pivot back to business as normal, baby, because you know, where the ventilators? I don't know. I guess who could afford them got them. Where the PPE? I don't know. I guess that could afford them got them. Well, it's Black folk and po folk, Black folk as a result that seem to be impacted by it the most. Well, okay. Back to business as usual in America, folks. That's what I think.
Yeah, and that's false too. Because when you look at it state versus city, the story changes, but you don't see the state numbers. You see the city numbers where Black people are dying more. But if they put it out in the state, we dying evenly across the state. But that's another story.
And story is everything. Here, folks, we got to stay up there. Check your facts.
Yeah.
You know, what you got for us, Lady Q, to survive? And you got a good survival tip for us, because these is difficult times.
Survival tip of the day. Know where your motherfucking water is. Know where you can go and get a decent stream. Now, it doesn't have to be perfect stream, but go and find out where the water is. Look on your Google map. See where the water is. Know how to get to your water. Have something to carry the water in. Have the ability to walk there with a cart or something, because you don't know what's going to happen again. So always know a couple of different sources of where you can get natural water for if the water ever went out. And you got to have a filter with that. So I'm going to show you a quick little filter. This is a 3-liter MSR bag. I don't know if you can get in the full shot, but you kind of hang it up with these straps. And you put it in the water, you put the water in it from wherever the source is, and then you hang it up and you let it flow through this filter. You connect it here, and then you just let it flow through the filter. It's gonna be slow as hell. Through this filter, all the way into this tube, and this will be the final container. Because you can't use the final container to get the natural water, because you want to keep that final container absolutely clean of all parasites or whatever it is that you need to all the bad stuff you need to filter out. But also with a filter, you always need something to kill the microbial living things. I don't know if microbial is the right, but the really small living things. So you got to boil those out. So you filter and you boil. And all the things will be dead and all the nasty stuff will go away with the filter. So survival tip of the day.
And you got good water.
Yep.
All right, there we go. Survival tip. Know where your water is, and know different ways to filter water. And I'm sure Google Universities has some great follow-up tips for you to check it out. So, good folk, this is Hot Topics After Dark. Please join us. Find us on Facebook at Hot Topics After Dark on our Facebook page, where we will be posting these episodes. And post comments, join in on the conversation on our Facebook page. You can also find me at The Inspired Muse. And, as I always say, even in moments like these, folks, all things are possible and nothing is out of reach. So even in this moment, know that there is power in stillness and pause, and that you have the power to determine how you go forward and what your future looks like, because we are in a restructuring of America, and during restructurings anything is possible. Take nothing as absolute and go forth and create. All right, see y'all in the next episode of Hot Topics After Dark. I'm Jeffrey DeShawn,
and that's Wiggins.
And that's Paquita Wiggins. We will see you next time.